Hi YouTube, welcome to my channel. This is Menon. In this video I'm going to show you how to make dosa batter. Dosa is a fermented crepe which is usually taken for breakfast or lunch along with chutneys or curries or sambar. The ingredients that I'm using to make this batter includes idli rice, which is a bit different from the usual white rice that you buy from the market. So this is a bit smaller and rounded. So I have taken 2 cups of idli rice. I'm just going to put it in the bowl here. And then the next would be white rice. What I'm using is white Basmati rice. About half cup of Basmati rice. Then I've taken half cup of cooked rice. This makes the Tosai gets more crispier when you make it. So that's the reason why I'm using cooked rice. So 2 cups of idli rice, half cup of Basmati rice, half cup of cooked rice. And then I'm using Urid dal, 1 cup of Urid dal. And then finally 3 tablespoons of Fenugreek seeds. Empty everything into a bowl and soak it in water for good 6 to 8 hours. So it doesn't matter how much water you add as you soak it, because you won't be using the entire water when you make the batter. Yeah, you can see that now the batter is soaked for nearly 6 to 8 hours. And then we'll start blending and making the batter. I have a blender here which I bought from India a couple of years ago when I went home. So it comes with 3 jars. I'm using the biggest jar to make the batter. I'm going to make the batter in 3 batches. Put the mixture in the blender, roughly about half of the blender. I'm not taking the water, just the mixture of rice, dal and Indium in it. So this is right about, so that much, and then I'll be adding a bit of fresh water to it just to soak the mixture. You can see how much water I'm pouring. If you look carefully, you can see that this particular blender comes with 3 levels of blending, where 3 is the maximum. So I'm going to start off with level 1 and then put it at level 1 for probably just more than a minute, and then level 2 for a couple of minutes, and level 3 for another 2 minutes, so that I get a fine paste at the end of my blend. I'm not going to switch on the camera while I'm making the batter because it's going to be a bit noisy. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make in 3 batches. Okay, now I've finished blending the first batch. Now let's see what has come out of it. So you can see that the batter is quite nice, and you see that's a bit of excess water. We don't want it to be that fluidy as you make the water. You can add more water once it is fermented completely. So for the next 2 batches, I will be adding lesser water when I make the batter. Okay, now I'm going to repeat the same procedure. So that's almost half, as you can. So you can see the blender there. So I haven't added much water. So just enough to soak the mixture, and then blend it the same way as I did for the previous time. Okay, now let's see how the second batch has come out. So I blended the second batch. Wow, this is the right consistency of batter that the same way you make the third batch. Okay, now I have 3 batches of the batter ready. So you need to give a vigorous stir to it so it ferments well. So you just turn it in clockwise and anti-clockwise direction. Give vigorous stir for a couple of minutes. Some people prefer to add salt at this stage, but I would like to ferment it first before I add the salt. So that's the consistency at the end of our blend. Okay, now your Tosai or idli tastes better if your batter gets fermented really well. So for that I'm going to put my batter in the oven because it's quite cold here. The outside temperature is about 3 degrees. So what I'm going to do is preheat the oven at 50 degrees for about 10 minutes and then switch off the oven and put the batter in for about 8 to 10 hours. You can see that I'm preheating it to about 50 degrees. So if you have a light in your oven, instead of preheating it, just turn on the light for about 6 to 8 hours. I don't have a light in my oven, so I prefer doing this. It's important that you cover the batter with the lid, preferably airtight, before you put it in the oven. Okay, now the oven is preheated for about 10 minutes, so I'm going to switch it off and then put the batter in. And close it and leave it aside for about 6 to 8 hours. So that's the fermented batter. That's how it looks like after 8 hours of fermentation. Now I'm going to add some salt to it and give it a vigorous stir before I start making Tosai. So I'm adding the salt and then stir it well, at least for a couple, and then transfer into a smaller container so it's easier to make Tosai. You can see the consistency of the batter after it is fermented. So it's a bit thick for Tosai. This would be ideal for Idli. In this video, I'm basically showing how to make Tosai. So I would like my batter to be a bit more runny. So I'll add half a cup of water to it to get the right consistency to make Tosai. Then again stir it well. So that's just right consistency to make Tosai. Now we'll get started. So this is the pan that I'm going to use. You can see that it's a heavy pan made of cast iron and it's a flat bottom one. So this is an ideal one to make the Tosai. This is something that I bought from India last time when I went home. So it's important that your pan is not too hot when you make the Tosai to prevent it from sticking to the pan as you make it. I'll be using ghee to make my Tosai. So you can either use ghee or gingerly oil or what we call nallanai in Malayalam and Tamil. Now we can see that the pan is hot. The fumes have started coming out of it. So at this point I'll reduce the flame to the minimum. So this is too hot to make Tosai. So that you want your pan to be hot but not too hot. So I'll sprinkle some water to bring down the temperature of the pan and then give a gentle wipe using a kitchen towel. As I mentioned earlier, if your pan is too hot, then the Tosai is going to get stuck to it. I'm going to spread the batter. So 1 scoopful of batter, pour it at the center and start spreading it from the center. Nice and round. And now I would add some ghee to it along the sides. And a bit at the center. You can see that the Tosai has started getting browner along the sides already. At this point I would like to spread the ghee over the Tosai. So you just slide the spatula all around so that the ghee gets spread evenly all over. So you can increase the flame now a bit. Now we can see that the dosa looks nice and brown, and it appears crispy. So at this point I'll start using my spatula and then separate it along the sides first, all over, and then flip it over. You can see the nice brown color of the Tosai. The Tosai, the more crispier and more browner and more thinner it is, it's more tastier. And then flip it over once again, and then fold it into half and transfer to a serving plate. Now before I make my next Tosai, I would like to wipe the excess oil on the pan and the remaining batter that is stuck to the pan, so the next Tosai doesn't get stuck when I'm taking out. So if you feel that your pan is too hot and if the fumes are coming out, you just sprinkle more water like this. Wipe again and spread the next one. So 1 scoop full of batter, pour it in the center and start spreading from the center with gentle pressure to the pan all around so as to make a big circle. Pour ghee along the sides and a bit at the center. Increase the flame for a few seconds so that it gets browner and crispier, and spread the ghee evenly using a spatula all over the Tosai. Now we can see that it is getting really brown and nicer. At this point I'll reduce the flame, and I'm not going to flip over this Tosai, angular Tosai. So I'll spread it along the sides. Sorry, I'll try to separate it along the sides first. And what I'm going to do now is making a cut from the center to the edge of the Tosai. So if you make this cut earlier, it would have been much more easier. And then roll it that way, and then this way. So that's a fancy Tosai. Doesn't that look? You can see the Tosai with the curries now. So that's the Tosai, and then you have the coconut chutney and onion chutney and a bit of potato masala that I've made. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you like and enjoy the video.